Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Militiaman here. Today's the 25th of October, and we're going to talk about some of the articles that have been out of late, and I think we're going to find that there's some fairly good stuff. I think I'll paint a picture that there's progress, and we're going to see that going into an international world is evident. I think there's proof of it, and we're going to talk about some of that. Obviously not all of it, because if you've been around long enough to know that this is a complex web that entails lots of things. And who's this? Oh boy. Hey there. Ophelia decided to come show up. And she purrs a lot, so hopefully I can pull this one off. But we've had some really crazy weather today, and fascinating thing is that the cats come to Papa when they have it. Anyway, the road project constitutes a qualitative shift in the economic reality of Iraq's country. So what we're going to see is a big twist, because a lot of the things that are going on in Iraq at this stage are dealing with all types of contracts. They're going to be dealing with tenders. They're dealing with projects, of course, and they're interconnecting with the world. So you have the Port of Fa, you have the Chinese Silk Road Initiative, and this is going all the way across from the Port of Fa, from China, across their whole country into Iraq. And Iraq calls it the Development Road Project. So they're going all the way over into to the coast. Believe it or not, they're even going to go through the area of Israel and Gaza. So the road initiative is not something that's to be taken lightly, because it's going to be about progress, and it's going to be about trade, and hopefully it's going to be about peace and containment. And we see evidence of that with some of the articles that you guys have seen, is that the focus is not on expansion of this process that we're seeing, but it's about containment. So hopefully, God willing, that we keep everybody safe and sound going forward. So when I get back to the Ministry of Transport and Development Road Project, it says the pursuit of economic integration through the Development Road Project indicates that this project is a qualitative transition in the economic reality. It says our government pays great attention to the transportation file, and we know this because we know about the Eastern Europe international accession to the roads, trucking. Okay, if you're starting to see some of the articles coming out, you see them building roads. That project is underway, and it's going to be important that they have proper infrastructure. But so anyway, the Development Road Project represents a qualitative transition in the economic reality. This gentleman basically says we seek through the Development Road Project to achieve this economic integration, and the project does not intersect with any projects in the region. So in other words, it's not a conflict. It's really kind of good. It goes on here, another gentleman by the name of Al Fartusi says the completion rate of the road linking Al Fa Port and Qasr has reached 52%. So they're building a better road, and it's at that 52% stage, so they're on their way to the end. So we'll see how that goes. From the photographs, it looks like they're doing a good job. It says the Director General of the General Company for Iraqi Ports has confirmed today that the completion rates of the road is at that 52%. The road project linking that great port to Qasr achieves its advanced completion rates, and that has been planned, and they're doing a really good job about that. It's about 62 kilometers, but the point is that it's part of the process. They're putting things together to make things run smoother and efficiently, and travel. Nothing's better than travel on a nice, fresh, new highway. I'll tell you that. The next thing is one of them is faltering negotiations. Kurdish leader, 2 reasons behind the postponement of the oil and gas law. Well, we're going to see that they talked about this over the weekend, but ultimately there's more to the story. The negotiations of this law, the oil and gas law, are ongoing. You realize they've been ongoing for many years, but they're ongoing between the region and the center. And if you all know what the region is, that's the Kurdistan. The center is Baghdad. It's basically what they're talking about is effectively that this particular case is the nucleus of the draft oil and gas law. It says that a draft of the oil and gas law has been, I guess, taken care of. It's presented to the government and the House of Representatives. We've heard this numerous times, but ultimately you're going to find that there's more to the story this week and even today. It says the draft oil and gas law is one of the basic and important laws that represents a factor of strength and unity for Iraq. It's been stuck for years. We all know that, at a time when the country today is in dire need of its legislation and to benefit from the natural wealth. The natural wealth is going to go towards the citizens. And if you've been paying attention closely, it isn't just the oil and gas law anymore. It's the oil, gas, and natural resources law. They're going to add more to it. So the citizens are going to benefit from this. And every citizen, that's all the politicians too. I mean, everybody in the country is going to benefit from it. So the only interesting thing is that everybody asks, why is it not done yet? Well, if you got to take it into a complex situation, look at the electronic systems that are around. You have the ICE-CUTA system at the borders, taxation, international. You've got them hooked up this weekend, international, all the way up to the international airport. Kirkuk was the last one included in the electronic platform to get them set up, interlinked, e-government. All of these things are so massive. If you go to the some of these websites, the ministry's websites, they all have tenders. Okay, they're telling you more. They're all interlinked. They're communicating because why? They're going to derive that money to pay for these projects, and they're going to get it out of that 23, 24, 25 budget. You just can't make this stuff up. But they're doing it. But everybody wants it today and tomorrow. I know everybody wants it. So do I. But the truth is that we're seeing things that's never been done before. Just because you've been invested in this for 20 years, 20 years ago is not even close to what it is today. So you guys got to just slow down on that. The bottom line is get caught up and check out and see what's happening, because it's phenomenal data. It's your investment. You should know about it. You should have records like I have. It's unbelievable data. So anyway, the draft oil law is one of the basic important laws that represents the factor of the strength. I just went over that. The financial advisor of the Prime Minister, Mohammed Saleh, confirmed in a press statement today that accelerating the approval of the federal gas law project in the House of Representatives as quickly as possible will establish a stable national road map for investment and production of the country's primary sovereign resources, which is oil and gas and their natural resources. So again, you got to pay attention that when the highest players in Iraq talk over and above the Parliamentary Finance Committee, et cetera, or the economic researchers and those opinion pieces that we see, be careful on what you see, read, hear, because you want to go, well, where did it actually come from? And at this stage of the game, after some of those that have been involved for 20 years should know better. They should know that there's different points of views, quality of information, and we with Patreon and Militia Man and Crew in our Discord chat room, we try to decipher the quality, and that's why we come in with such positive attitudes, because we see the positive in these things. Granted, there's always setbacks. There are negatives. I'm not putting my head in the sand, but I look for that positive angle, and I think it comes off well for everybody because it's supported with real data. The government has made strides. Oh, well, firstly, Al-Sudani, he says, we will present an accurate scientific review before the House of Representatives, far from imaginary establishments and achievements. Well, I get from that is that there's a lot of news out that have been countering the reality of what's going on, not only with the government, with the central bank. The central bank has put out articles that it specifically says, be careful on what you read. Go to the real source, okay? Opinion pieces are opinion pieces. So anyway, it says here that the government has made great strides in its work, and we will pave the way for larger projects that will see the light during the next year and we will present an accurate scientific review before the House of Representatives, far from imaginary construction and achievements. So it's not imaginary, it's the real deal. He says that we will provide construction materials to be available to citizens at reduced prices at the official currency exchange rate. So whenever that official currency exchange rate is applied, whether it's at the 1310 or at some other number, the main point is that they will they're telling the citizens at an official exchange rate, you're going to get reduced pricing. Okay, even then you're going to get reduced pricing for construction materials. And what are they going to need? They're going to build 3 million housing units in this country. They're not going to probably do that at 1310. It's far too expensive as far as the Iraq's dinar is concerned. They will have to do something different. The National Development Fund is one of the projects that represents a real glimmer of hope for reforming the economy and the state administration, and it is one of the projects that I have adopted, Al-Sudani says, since the year 2018, and it was included in the general budget and vote of the Council of Ministers. Now remember, excuse me, the 2023, 24, 25 budget is in the Gazette. It was done, I believe, on June 12th. They just haven't opened it and spent the money yet for the projects, okay? But it's a law, so we already know that. We won't go over it again. He says the fund has nothing to do with government contracts, but rather relies on the private sector and buys services from the government. The first project of the development fund is the construction of schools, which will exceed 1,000 schools by the private sector. So there you have it. This is what Al-Sudani is basically stating. He goes on to say that successfully, and includes the sectors of housing, industry, environment, and agriculture, and there are understandings with the Arab and international investment funds to support the work of the Iraqi fund, including the Saudi investment fund. That's some big money, you guys. That's the people that are going to be behind this. It's with the region, and they have very deep pockets. So the investment side of this, they want this to truly be a big deal. Okay, so a member of the Parliamentary Energy says that there's an intense movement to approve the oil and gas law, and it will not be transferred to the next session. So there you have it. They're working on it. I said they brought it up earlier. They had a motivation for it. This particular time, they say there is an intense movement, so they've factored it up somewhat. All I can tell you is this: they can be as intense as they want, but I'm assuming the reason why they're going to be intense about getting it done is that once they value this, these assets, whether it be oil, gas, or natural resources, they're going to have to do that in a manner that sets the stage for international exports and production, completion, all of those things. The representative of the Parliamentary Oil and Gas Committee, his name is Masawi, revealed an intense parliamentary movement to bridge the gaps between Baghdad and Erbil to approve the draft oil and gas law. They go on to say there's a great support for approving the law with the coordination framework as it is the problem of Iraqi government, and it seems that the political parties do not benefit from the approval of the law or hinting here and there to postpone the law to the next session, and this will not happen because the law has passed for many years, since 2005 until now. That's hard to swallow, you guys, but the bottom line is that at this stage of the game, they have the law out there and written. They just haven't got to it and hammered it out all the way yet. And I think we all know that by now that they should have had it. If they were going to do it at 1310, 1305, or 1320, they would have already done this by now, and they haven't. I mean, it has to be clear. It says the Prime Minister agreed with the Prime Minister Shia al-Sudani has agreed with the Kurdistan Regional Government, Masroor Barzani, to resolve the differences and outstanding issues, including the 2023 financial budget files and the oil and gas law. But the law is still a matter of controversy after talk of preparation. It says a new version of it was issued due to disagreement over its passage in light of differences in political opinions. Okay, but an initial agreement was reached between the governments of Baghdad and Kurdistan region, and they did that some time ago. Okay, so basically, this whole budget, not budget, but draft law, obviously has been hammered out. It's been talked by the professionals, and they're just like the WTO, for instance. They're waiting for what the citizens are waiting for. The reason why they haven't got their salaries yet. They're waiting for Iraq to announce something a little bit larger, and I hope and pray that we're talking about the same thing. That they need is an international Article 8 compliant exchange rate to go into the international world, and that Development Road project interconnecting with the Silk Road project. I think all of those things need to be thought about when it comes to the infrastructure build out. And you're going to see also that these contracts, electricity, gas, all these different things are coming to play, and they were in the news today. So if you've done your research today, you're going to notice that. It says here that al-Sudani announces a new measure regarding the dollar crisis in Iraq. He goes on to say that we supported a series of measures that will be a major part of the solution to the dollar crisis, pointing out that the crisis produced a group of speculators so that some merchants and some private banks turned into currency traders. Well, we all know that the parallel market is an illegal market, and they've been doing things they probably shouldn't have been doing based off the law of the central bank. It says we in the central bank have legal procedures to deter speculators and their security agencies and committees dedicated to implementing these procedures. It says that the Central Bank of Iraq agreed with the Central Bank of Iran to deal in tomans instead of dollars. Well, the toman and the rial are different in circumstance. First off, the rial is about 10 times less in value than the toman, but the rial is a international currency, pretty low at its exchange rate, of course, but it just shows that they're going to be doing trade together. That's a big difference. Some of the stuff that we saw about security, I'll get to that in a little bit, but the security is important around the country, around the region, because of many things, obviously, the Israel-Gaza situation, Syria, etc. So, but the point here is that there's going to be a change. We know that there was security agreements between Iraq and Iran. The level of trade between Iran and Iraq has increased significantly, more so even this year, and will increase in the future. And so if they're going to do something big and different, and they're going to trade in local currencies, the toman is a local currency, it just tells us that they're going to do something different. And what is that? That's going to be different than trading in the dollar, because we all know that at the end of the year, December 31st, January 1st of 2024, there's not going to be any more dollars on the street. Well, they're not going to be able to use them as far as any trade's concerned. So that implies that if the dollar is not going to be being traded in oil or traded in commodities or traded in natural resources, what are they going to use? Okay, so the Ministry of Oil announces the completion of a draft gas investment project in the Dinar bin Omar field in Basra. Why is this one important? Well, basically, it's stating that they've come to completion of a draft gas investment project in Basra. It says the Ministry of Oil, and I'm assuming that if everybody has the same links that we have, you can go to the Ministry of Oil and see some of these things and might find some tenders because of some of these costs that are coming up. Okay, so there's quite a few of those, and some of these with the oil administrator. I think it's with this one, or trade planning. There's so many of them. You have to. I don't have them memorized, but they have specifically allocated monies that are supposed to be tendered as early as the 1st of November. So we'll see how these all play out. Okay. They're talking about large amounts of gas, and they. I'll just leave it at this. You guys look it up. That was the Ministry of Oil announces the completion of a draft gas investment project in the Dinar bin Omar field in Basra. The project includes the establishment of raw gas collection stations, the processing units, pipeline networks, tanks, water stations, electricity generation stations, and a platform for port for export. Okay, all of that takes a lot of money and a lot of effort to have done if it's not already done. And it takes a lot of infrastructure to build out that stuff, basically with the aim of achieving significant financial revenues for the what? The state treasury. Oil is a massive amount of money. Natural gas is going to be a massive amount of money. The revenues from those borders that I told you about, as far as interconnecting globally, not globally, but I meant to say all of Iraq's borders and ports are hooked up with interconnectivity to the government. And therefore, all those monies, that unified treasury account that we talked about in the last video, if you haven't seen it, I'd say go back and look at it, take a read to that. You're going to find that the unified treasury account was one of al-Sudani's bucket lists with the finance ministry. And that happened on this last Sunday. Borders opened, interlinked, I should say, on Sunday. So it's huge. You got gas, electricity, savings of money, all going where? Unified treasury account for what? Iraq Development Fund. Iraq Development Fund is going to fund what? The Development Road Project. It's amazing. It's really amazing. Let's see, and here we are, the Ministry of Electricity. 4,000 megawatts. Smart systems will be launched in 10 residential and commercial areas. Says this year we signed contracts. We signed contracts with a capacity of approximately 1,250 megawatts as the first phase, and we're now in the process of signing contracts for the second phase, and it's approximately 2,500 megawatts. And their goal is in 2023 they signed it, which also ultimately becomes 4,000 megawatts of power. Okay, basically what they're saying here is it will contribute to saving more than $4 billion annually. Remember, that was the cost, that all the money that was going to Iran for gas. Well, here it says that $4 billion annually will be returned to the Treasury. Okay, they're working on these systems. This has all been under Sudani's watch. He's coming up on a year on the 27th of this month. I mean, you guys really ought to be just like, man, these guys are really knocking it dead, getting it done. And we've never seen this before, and which we haven't. This isn't, again, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. This is now. It's phenomenal. It says that the integrated projects will switch to what they call smart systems to supplement the budget, which will reduce the value of the budget allocated to the Ministry of Electricity. Perfect. Yeah. The more that you guys do, the less money it's going to cost, comes out of the budget, more for the citizens, more for the Treasury. Ultimately, they say here that they have upwards of 500,000 subscribers throughout Iraq, and their systems will be transformed into smart systems, and invoices will be issued by electronic payment. That's another one of those things that people haven't been paying attention to, I don't think. All the real estate transactions that they're going to be doing, they're going to be able to have those transactions get a little bit easier loans, because why? They're going to have the money. They've had problems with getting paid back in the cash system. If they're in an electronic system, they can get direct deposit. They can have monies taken, brought in electronically and taken out electronically. Fair, simple, and safe. And that's, I think, where they're headed. And that Bismaya complex is one in of its own in the world. And I think that the citizens are going to appreciate that place. That's what I hope. Again, I watched the video on that, and it was phenomenal. Here again, this says the Ministry of Commerce. Wait, back up. It says the economy supports more account inventory from Kurdistan for trade between Iraq and Iran, which is $8 billion. Like I said earlier, the amount of money that these guys are going to make from trade. We did talk about the Toman. It's just going to be a different currency. It's going to be local currency for the two countries are going to be, they're going to be utilized just as other currencies are going to be. I'm really convinced that obviously when the time's right, they're not only going to use other local currencies, but they're also going to use the dinar globally. And that means Europe, everybody that has it is going to be able to use it. Okay, it says here that the trade will increase for Iran. That goes from, I think, 4 billion. It may go as high as 6 billion or more. But anyway, the bottom line is it's not going to change. The trade's going to be there. And if they're going to deal in local currencies, it's obvious that there's a reason for it, especially in the timing. Another thing that we have to remember toward the end here is that Iran and Iraq have agreements with security and stability. I think that a lot of the stuff that we've been seeing, it's scaring people, is this some of the militias that are within Iraq throwing out those Katyusha rockets and stuff. They're a thorn. People do get hurt, sadly, but they are not such a demonstrable situation that al-Sudani and his crew can't help contain that. I think that deal with today with Iran and Iraq dealing in local currencies is probably a part of that, because when Iraq decides it's time for them to have an international acceptable exchange rate, it will have a profound effect on Iran. And so hopefully these guys will massage that in an equitable manner that can keep and contain the strife and keep the security and stability for the region intact. And I think that's going to be a major issue, because it's going to be an ongoing issue. It says the U.S. ambassador to Iraq, Alina Romanowski, described Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani as an essential partner for the United States in efforts to maintain regional stability. So relax with that. You know, everything's been out in the news about containment, about non-expansion, about humanitarian processes to help those that are in need over there. So I think that's really a kind of a good thing. Under some bad circumstances, but nonetheless, good thing. Iraq Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani is our primary partner in efforts to maintain regional stability and provide humanitarian aid to civilians. So that's their goal. And in the end, Romanowski concluded her post with the phrase, quote, "the comprehensive America-Iraq partnership." Okay, so it looks like they've come into agreement. We saw Anthony Blinken and Lloyd, forgive me, I'm terrible with names, but the bottom line is they had a couple calls with al-Sudani, and the security and stability was their main focus, and they had good calls. And I think that's reflective of the contracts that are being signed, the gas deals that are being done, the new road initiative constructions, all these different things, all the different tenders, all the commercial aspects, contracts again, are what's important. And here again at the end, I'm just going to finish up with even the National Security Advisor, Qasim al-Haraji. He received in his office today a delegation from the Iranian Shura Council, the Deputy Chairman of the National Security and Foreign Policy Committees, Ibrahim Azizi, in the presence of the Chairman of the Parliamentary Secretary and Defense Committee, Abbas al-Zamili, and the Iranian Ambassador to Baghdad, Muhammad Kazim al-Sadiq. So all these guys got together, and one of the quotes that they had based off this delegation, which is the security agreement between Iraq and Iran is in the interest of both countries and serves the security and stability of the region, noting that the Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani is seriously following up on the completion of this agreement, stressing Iraq's full readiness to coordinate and cooperate with neighboring Iran in this regard. So Azizi appreciated Iraq's position in receiving Iranian visitors back during the holiday, thanking the Iraqi government and their people for their generosity, giving, good reception, hospitality. So they're setting the stage that Iraq is still moving forward, even though there's some strife in the Middle East. They're still working on it. They're working together with other countries. You have Jordan dealing with Iraq, electricity, Saudi Arabia opening trade facilities and centers today. You have all kinds of different things. Okay, so the bottom line is that I think with the news that we have out, we're watching for some key events. We did talk about, there was some talk about specific things with the WTO happening on the 31st to the 2nd. It is a regional course event, and it could absolutely just be more information, but if you read stuff closely, the state of play that Iraq is in could be different than Yemen and Somalia and some of the others that they talk about in that region. But they did finally focus and say that Iraq was part of this session. But they also have had sessions. We note that today or yesterday, 24th, Iraq was part of something that happened there. They don't always tell us everything, but we do the best that we can to see what they're going to say and do. But also, if you guys remember back months and months ago, they put Iraq into an accelerated view. And they used that term again yesterday, accelerated, for other countries. So we don't know where the state of play Iraq is in. I put it in a situation where it's kind of like boot camp, for instance. Everybody's in boot camp. I might be in the first week, you're in the second week, Iraq's in the 9th week. So we'll see how that goes. So hey, listen everybody, I hope you got some education on what I brought forward, because it's really powerful stuff that comes directly out of the news from Iraq. Thank you, Samson, for a wonderful job that you do feeding me information. Thank you, crew members, for all the work that you do keeping our Discord chat room going. It's phenomenal. It's vibrant. Our Patreon source of information for everybody. I put all my analysis in the forum, and so I hope you guys like that. And if you still like it, tap that like button and subscribe. And we have venues to help donate for the fact that we do not advertise. I hope that means something to y'all. Have a great day. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.